Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran, and in today's video, we're going to have a discussion video. I'll be honest with you guys, I am busy with school and I was playing all of Karazhan, so I wasn't really able to make any kind of recordings. So today is going to be another discussion video. Let me know in the comments if you like this kind of videos or not. I do try to make them as impersonal as possible and I do try to make them as less scripted as possible in order to have more of a conversation. The topic of conversation for the day will be, is there a faction disbalance when it comes to Legion, World PvP, Arena PvP, BG PvP? Basically, is there a faction disbalance in Legion in PvP? And the reason I'm bringing up this topic is from Luxley. Luxley talked about it for a while, and in my personal experience, especially on a live stream, whenever I'm playing Alliance, the amount of wins to losses is a little bit ridiculous. On one hand, on a Horde, when I'm playing my main character, I can wait up to 9 to 10 to even 15 minutes before a BGQ pops. But in most cases, I am going to get a winning team and it's going to be worth a while. It is very disappointing if I do get a team that does lose, whether it's horrible loses or clause loss. It's because then it feels like a kind of waste of time. On Alliance, on the other hand, you get fast queues, sometimes as fast as instant. So the chances are that you are going to win a BG in those cases is kind of slim. It depends on the group, depends who you're facing against, if it's a pre-made, if you have a pre-made, if the enemy has a pre-made. But in most cases, at least in my experience, Alliance has been on the losing end. And if you take a look at some of the data that can be seen from the Blizzard themselves, the Horde right now is winning most of the BGs except the big 40-mans, as basically like how it was back in the days of Cataclysm and Pandaria. So comes the question, is there really a disbalance when it comes to factions in PvP? And I guess it brings in the questions like, should racials be removed? Is there a reason for racials to be there? Should they stay in the game? And all this many talks that we can have from there. So let's take a look at it first. We're going to take a look at the first argument, which says yes, there is a big disbalance in the game and something should be done about it. On one hand, we have Horde racials, and I feel like Horde racials are better. Not only do you have the Blood Elves, the Trolls, the Orcs, even the Undead that are leading the charge in terms of racials, even Tauren, most of the racials that are passive for all these classes are really good. For example, Trolls don't sit in roots as often, the Tauren healing whenever they are playing as healers, the crits have a little bit more value to them. And as Orcs, you sit less in stuns. This in combination with some of the other PvP talents, you're able to basically, as an Orc for example, be able to take Relentless, be able to use your Orc racial to simply just take less CC from stuns, and as a healer, you're basically unstoppable. So a combination for an Orc to be an Orc Restoration Shaman or an Orc Mistweaver Monk ends up being a very powerful combo. On the other hand, we also have Orcs which have the Burst racial, the only racial in the game that allows you for direct damage increase. We have Trolls that have a haste increase, which does increase damage for some classes and does not for others. Then we have the Blood Elves, which have a silence, which also regenerates you your primary resource, whether it be holy power, energy, insanity, which has been added in patch 7.1, mana, chi, you name it. So for a Blood Elf to be able to get a silence, which a lot of classes lost a blanket silence, as some of the classes that have it right now are Assassination Rogues and Shadow Priests, and I believe that's really about it. There could be some tanks that have a blanket silence. Ooh, I almost forgot about Protection Paladins from back in the day, Avenger's Shield. So because a lot of classes lost silence, it is a really powerful tool for a caster or even a melee to be able to get a silence in order to combo a little bit extra CC onto a heal for those clutch close games, and even stop certain classes like Paladins to be able to bop their healers or friendlies and simply win the game this way, because you have this instant silence out of nowhere at a pretty short cooldown. So these racials for the most part, Blood Elf racial, Orc racial, and the other passive racials that have for the Horde are basically leading the charge when it comes to the ladders. As you can take a look at the US ladders, we have a lot of players playing Horde, and for a specific reason, because Horde are doing really well. Another theory comes around which also supports the idea that people are playing Horde and Horde is better, because people are finally able to play Horde. In the past we've had Warlords General, which basically forced anybody who wants to push some serious raiding to go Alliance. Because the human racial, the fact that you can get a CC with a double DPS trinket was just way too strong. Then you had Night Elves, which made really good druids compared to the Tauren counterparts. Then we had basically any other healer could go Dwarf in order to avoid silences. And overall, Alliance have had a really good time during Warlords as being the dominant because of their racials, whether they be passive, but mostly because of the active abilities. So because of the suppression, most people, since they're able to go Horde, they're gonna go all out and play Horde, especially when it comes to PvP. So since a lot of people are able to play the faction that they really want to play, why would they just not do it? And that's basically the reasonings why, yes, Horde is better, and not only because it's objectively better for racials, but also because the community finds it better and more enjoyable to play, so why the hell would they ever give it up? But there is an argument against it, and there's only one specific thing that supports my argument. When you take a look at the European servers when it comes to Arena 2v2s and 3v3s, Alliance is pretty damn popular. So while on the US servers it's pretty drenched in red, on the European side it's a nice shading of blue with a few splotches of red. So it's interesting to see just the differences between the regions. So with possible information, possible proof that Alliance is a pretty popular racial and faction choice for a lot of PvPers on the European side, what are some of the reasons why they will play them? Well, when you're playing as a human, you still have a lot of capabilities when it comes to different options for PvP. You still have pretty decent racials on PvP when it comes to the Alliance racials, whether it be Night Elf, Dwarf, even Gnome. But they are in the form of not exactly passives, but more active abilities. Like for example, the human one allows you to break out of stuns. Just about every single class in the game has a stun. So if you treat your stun almost like a trinket style ability, then you're able to basically have a trinket at all times. So it means you don't really need to grab the Gladiator's Medallion, allowing you some options for adaptation and relentless, which gives you a little bit more variety in terms of what you want to do, what you can do when it comes to PvP. And when it comes to healers, I feel like the healers over on the Alliance side have a few good options. Not only do you have druids as Night Elves, you can have all your other healers as humans with the capability to have a stun breaker as well as a CC breaker of sorts or a CC reducer, depending on what you pick. You also have dwarves, which are able to get you out of silences. You also have gnomes, which are able to get you out of roots, which are still great for some melee, especially some of the less mobile melee. For example, someone like an Assassination rogue that's chasing an enemy and he keeps getting rooted by the druid just to get peeled. So you're able to get yourself active abilities in order to help you within different situations. The difference is active versus passive abilities. As an active ability, you're able to get out of a CC at a moment's notice once you are, overcome with an obstacle. When it comes to passive abilities, you have basically, like say, Orc passive for CC reduction. The more you get stunned, the more value that CC brings, because every single stun you take, you're reducing all that stun duration, and basically makes you more valuable as a team player with every single stun that you absorb into yourself, because all those stuns durations are reduced heavily, especially if you're running with Relentless. So the question of, is there disbalance in factions? On one hand, on US, if you're playing Alliance, you're probably having a miserable time doing random battlegrounds, but in a specific arena team, you're probably doing fine, and maybe when you play with a group of friends that know what they're doing in BGs, you're probably a-okay. When it comes to the US or EU, let's say the EU counterpart playing as a horde, you might have a similar experience. I didn't play on the EU, I don't play on EU, so I wouldn't 100% quite know, but I'm guessing that you will have a similar experience as somebody who plays as Alliance on US. Yes, you would run into some issues once in a while and probably will lose majority of your games depending on if you queue with randoms or with friends, if you queue on a different time of day when, let's say, kids are home or the grown-ups are playing and whatnot, and it's just variations. So it's just different, and it's hard. It's really difficult to judge just which one is truly better. I guess the only way we will be able to see which one is sorta kinda technically better when we see the BlizzCon championships, when we have finally all the teams from all over the world square off against one another, and we'll be able to see and judge if players are playing Alliance or Horde and which faction truly dominates PvP. Anyway guys, this has been my video discussion for is there factions balanced in the game, providing you arguments for yes there's disbalance, no there's no disbalance, and my answer is there's yes and no, because we have two different regions playing two different faction dominations, and it's hard to tell which one is truly better. But what are your thoughts, guys? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think there is faction disbalance in World of Warcraft, or do you think there is not quite a disbalance, mainly because we have factions that are both popular just in different regions? What are your thoughts on that, guys? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you, all of you. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. My name is Dalaran, and I'll see you guys in the next one.